welcome back to the Amorous Armadillo, playing some Dungeons & Dragons. This is the road... Wait, I forgot what it was called, too. Road's Not Taken is what I decided to call this, and I remembered that 100%. Poncho will edit that so it sounds good.
Hope so.
You want me to redo that? Everybody, welcome back to the Amorous Armadillo, playing some Dungeons & Dragons. This is Road's Not Taken, and I'm here with the same three guys that I was here with before, running through the same adventure. I forget where we left off. Poncho? What was going on?
Oh, we got in a strange man's car and drove across the desert. The man sounded like Grover, and he was called the Gnome.
And John, what happened to Corsic? Andrew Summers is no longer Paladin, not quite Paladin.
That's what happened to him. He's no longer a Paladin, or not quite a Paladin.
Andrew, do you want to elaborate on the adventures that you had last session?
It was your character, so maybe you should
what?
I might have a bit more.
Why don't you tell what happened to my character?
If I remember correctly, you followed us through the desert, and eventually you shot a strange creature digging around in the sand.
A graboid.
Ooh, what was that? What else was that strange creature digging around in?
It was also digging around inside Corsic's insides.
And as a consequence, I'm a little bit better at carrying stuff.
Yeah, what did you level up your character to? Are you still leveling him up as a paladin?
I did. Corsic did indeed level up as a paladin, just because that made sense. I spent all that time training as a paladin. The next level should be that. But
yeah, no, definitely. Like when a wizard doesn't have access to his spells, he still leveled up in wizard because that's what he used to do.
I still get better though. I get those sweet feats.
All the feats. Did you get cool feat? And by the way, everyone did level up. Our heroes are level 4. That's one more level than 3.
Yes, that's how the math works.
No, hold on.
Hey, if you were going to show level 5, would you do 5 or would you do 4 fingers and then another finger?
I don't know. You could get fancy and do like a...
Why would you do that?
Thumb's not a finger.
Yeah, but it's still 5 digits.
Dude, I knew exactly where he was going, and you followed him down in there, and I'm so happy because he's happy. He's happy because he got to say his stupid fucking lame ass joke.
It's not a joke.
But I'm not the butt of it. This time it's you. You're the butt.
Oh no!
You are Ramsey Butts.
I am the Butts. You found it. You found a way. It took you went on a little journey, but you found a way.
Toot toot. Yeah, I just hopped in a car with a little gnome friend, and we made it all the way there.
All right.
So I brought it all around.
That's sweet.
I'm the most useful man.
I disagree. Andrew, Corsic needs to do me a favor. You need to roll me a d20 roll, because I forgot I was using an optional rule. Sure.
I got a 17.
Oh. It's all right.
Ominous.
Yeah. That beast dug into you pretty deep, but you feel that you'll be definitely left with a bit of a scar, but nothing too permanent, nothing too horrendous. I may be occasionally interjecting some additional optional rules if I feel it fits and it helps thematically and it makes me happy. Lingering wounds will be an optional rule from the DMG.
It's got to make us happy. This is our game.
No, it'll make me happy.
Us happy.
You don't understand. This whole thing is just to make me happy. So dance, do fun things, make me jolly. So
Jump on it.
Meanwhile, I guess I could do a Grover voice. So you did get in a strange man's car, a little gnome. Who jumped in the passenger side?
I did.
You did?
Yeah. So I'm in the actual vehicle. And he had like a trailer that he was pulling as well with the box of the truck.
It was more like a pickup truck, more like an orc truck. It just had like as if it was a wagon, but there's a space, and it's mostly filled with just canvas wrapped somethings in the back. You kind of have to squeeze back there.
But there was a hole. There's essentially a bitch seat in the cab, and that's where I jumped in, and then the two Lost Boys jumped in the box.
Yeah, in the box. So you began your journey. And as this little gnome starts things up and begins the drive, and I explained he has like some control on with the right lever, and he steers with another lever in his left hand. He tries to engage you in conversation, and you can't hear anything over the sound of this roaring beast of a vehicle. You're not sure what it is, but it's just shooting fire. It's like a furnace. It's like a lit furnace with rumbling and grinding noises. And shooting steam, and occasionally as it makes certain turns, it'll shoot blue flame out of exhaust type apparatus. But he eventually notices that you can't hear him, and he reaches underneath his seat and is not really looking at the road at all. And he pulls out like a bottle of clear liquid, and he uncorks it, and he pulls there's like a little hole, like a little aperture on the side by the lever, and he just kind of flips the bottle over. You see it kind of pours in, and it starts to steam inside, like steam shoots up into this globe of the glass bottle. And as it does, you just kind of all the sound kind of deadens as if like a bubble went around you, and you can't really hear anything at all outside of the vehicle itself. He continues to kind of engage in conversation, more details about where you're from, where you're going, what your problems are. You do notice as he's kind of shifting and talking to you, and as he's reaching, moving, you know something you didn't notice before. You do continue to notice that he's wearing some sort of blindfold over his eyes and is driving this vehicle and piloting it. But you also notice his left hand, as his robe, which basically hung over his hands before, as he's reaching up and driving this vehicle. As the robe pulls back, you see his left hand is at least at the wrist seems to be replaced with some sort of like clockwork mechanism that seems to function kind of like a hand. And he seems to be able to do relatively fine motor function with it, but it's a little janky. It's a bit janky. How much were you willing to share with this guy as you travel, as you drive, as you take a trip? He's asking a little bit more details. He's where you're from, personal details, here and there, probing questions.
So I would kind of brush off the first couple, like seem relatively vague. If he persisted, I would try to kind of one for one him, because I'm still super confused as to like what's going on and like whatever it's called and stuff like that. So I would try to like one for one him, unofficially, like unspoken, like one for
unofficially.
One. Yeah. I don't want to be
so not documented.
Yeah, it's not a date, but I want to be like, he'll ask me a question, I'll answer it, and then I'll ask him a question, and then if he doesn't answer it, then I don't answer the next one. Okay. Yeah.
So you're being obnoxious. Anybody else? He's engaging everyone in the car.
Okay. We're in the back. We can see and engage.
Yeah, it's not that large of a vehicle. I mean, you maybe, depending on where you are, you can kind of, one of you can kind of squeeze up to where you're right behind the driver and Bedouin, and the other one is going to be either going to be kind of uncomfortable in the middle or towards the back of the vehicle and out of sight, depending on where you want to squeeze. So that's up to you how you wanted to squeeze yourselves or where you want to position yourselves, and you can shift.
Sure.
As you want. It's,
can I rummage through his load without being super obvious about it?
You could try.
I don't want to try. I want to do.
Well, you think that you might be able to. You would assume he'd be distracted, but you don't know for certain. You don't know all the variables, but you certainly think that you could probably feel that you'd get an opportunity to try to rummage. So that's your during the course of this, instead of engaging in conversation, you're going to be a bit rummagey, at least.
I can
first.
do two things.
Okay, and then Corsic, is there anything that you would be openly sharing with him?
Corsic is not the most knowledgeable about everything. He doesn't have a wide berth of knowledge, but the things that he knows about, he's not particularly secretive about. He doesn't think he has any reason to hide anything here.
Okay.
So if he asks a question and I know the answer, I'd be sharing.
Okay.
Tell him the sausage story.
You certainly can. It's a pretty long drive. We'll go through it. We'll narratively push through this, so we're not role playing a car drive the entire time.
99 bottles of grog on the wall. 99 bottles of grog.
I jump out of the car.
It is not a comfortable ride. It is. There are no whatever this realm does not have appropriate shocks or anything close to that. There's some sort of cushioning. If you yourself were to travel this realm and test it, you would say, okay, something's happening here, but it's definitely not, especially not in the back. So you're not really able to get comfortable and sit still for any period of time. You're probably going to have to shift back there and try to hold on.
That sounds convenient for rummaging.
It does. So before we get to your rummaging check, because I figure you're probably going to look for an opportunity, some of the questions, the more obvious questions. He does ask personal questions: where you're from, what's your family like, things like that. In response, he says he doesn't really have a family. He's the only gnome he's ever met. There's not a lot of creatures like him here, but he's heard tales and stories, mostly of legend. They just called him the gnome, and that is the name that he took. So he's not particularly. He doesn't really dodge your questions. He says he has friends, he has acquaintances, and he'll mention a few names here and there. The main questions that he asks during the course of this is really what your point is. If he asked you, do you share at all your issues with your paladininess? I know we were talking about gods and primordials and things before. Do you expand upon that?
He's been helpful. He hasn't been dismissive of us in any way. I wouldn't have any reason to hide any of that.
Sure. Okay. So I'm getting prepped. Okay.
Can't wait till tomorrow.
Oh my god. I don't think I can even do it.
I want to get really used to it so that when he's talking like on business calls.
Grover?
Are you near or far from the side of the road?
Near?
If
I got to do that. I can't start. I have to do near far to get close to it.
If I had some insurance-related business to do and the person that I spoke to did a Grover voice, I would be more inclined to deal with that person.
I'll try.
Really?
That'd be an immediate click.
I would ask if you want to be on Sesame Street.
No worse than Jimmy Witcher.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Let's just do this as best I can. Holy shit. All right. So
Let's get the Grover clock going.
well, there's as far as the particular issues you're having with your access to your, what do you call it again? Your god, your deity.
My goddess, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard rumors of a group of Dragonborn that seem to possess powers similar to what you explained, though and they do mention a strange connection as well. So perhaps that's something you can inquire about. That they're far to the east, at least the majority of them are.
To the east, you say?
Yeah, engaged in a bit of rebellion.
Rebellion against who?
The Sith.
Against the what?
Engaged in rebellion they are.
Indeed.
I'm the only gnome.
I mean, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, you made Yoda.
It's not far from Grover. I'm pretty certain that
It's
Frank
Frank
Oz
Oz.
does Grover as well.
Because it's
so
all Frank Oz. Yep.
It's all Frank Oz.
Grover and Miss
Everything. Everything's coming up Frank Oz.
I might be interested in checking that out.
Well, they are engaged in a rebellion against Karshimus, the primordial who rules these lands.
You don't say.
I do say. I just said.
What if I might ask is a
That's
primordial?
definitely Yoda.
Oh, they're the powerful beings that first appeared, who ruled over the dragons as pets before the war.
I feel like I'm just gonna keep going down a rabbit hole here, but what war?
He looks at you and you really are not from here, are you?
What keyed you into that?
I wasn't sure if you were just pulling my leg.
I believe the first thing that I told you after I introduced myself was, we're not from here.
But I didn't realize you weren't from here. But you truly are from Toril. I'm beginning to believe that. He explains a little bit of the history of Abir. The war of, I believe, Fang and Claw is what he was referring to as the war that came about after the Primordials ruled. That is when their dragon servants rebelled against them. And formed a land of their own. Most of the primordials now slumber. However, Karshimus still rules over Sheer, which is the name of this continent. For a time, in recent time, Laracond, which is the capital, the land of the dragons, across the sea, had disappeared. And it is, along with some other strange happenings that occurred during blue breath of change. But the dragons have returned, and rumors are that their land has returned, and they have been making inroads into the continent. Some of these inroads were made when their capital had left. There are other factions that were still around, or still remaining, pushed forward into Sheer, and Karshmish didn't have the power to resist them fully. And his forces, which are the known as the Anarchs of Sheer, who are basically soldiers, sword mages of a sort, weren't able to resist the forces of the dragons completely. So they did make landfall. He also points out a few other things that may be an interest to you. He talks about the primordials. These are godlike beings. You might have. You can give me a history check.
Sure.
Either any of you may, if you're listening.
I got a 16 because that's what's on the dice.
History or religion is fine, actually.
19.
Nothing?
So if I use the previous roll, it's an 18.
Okay. Yeah. So you've definitely heard of primordials. Primordials apparently do exist in Toril as well. They're like gods. They're more primal. They don't generally have followers. At least not in as far as believers. They don't function in that way. They're much more material in their existence. Some of them, but it's arbitrary. Some of them are beings of pure elemental energy. Some are beings of dreams and thoughts and nightmares. You've heard tales of a few of them. John, you have known of primordials mostly from there's rumors of primordial that have been ravaging the lands of the north. Not as far north as where your friend Bedouin came from, but you definitely heard tales of this, and nothing that affected your city or your dealings, and you're not sure if there's any truth to them, and you don't pay attention. A lot of dwarves are complaining about it. You hear that. So you understand that there's these beings, but they're not well defined. They're not really tied to any religious teachings. They don't interact with the gods normally. Those that do exist in Toril are usually hidden away or imprisoned, something to that effect. The gnome goes on to kind of explain what happened prior to this war with the dragons and before the splitting of Abir and Toril. And he explains that the gods and the primordials were at war before the god above all split the two worlds in half and gave one world to the divine and the other world to the primordials, and you are now in Abir, which is the land of the primordials. He asks you some questions about, personal questions, where you're from. He does ask, family. Do you give him anything? Does anybody chime in? He doesn't really push for it, other than like a polite conversation would, like a date or like on a car trip.
I give him the line that I give most people when they talk
Mm-hmm.
about my family.
Right. And then you don't talk. You don't speak. He does at some point. He does inquire about your abilities. You just like if you are adventurers of a sort. You seem like the adventuring sort. Would you consider yourself such?
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily have trade jobs. We're kind of fetchers and fighters to a point.
What sort of skills do you possess? Anything mightily impressive?
He's really good at finding somebody to buy something useless. He's really good at making people who want to fight us not fight us. And I'm really good at
Nothing.
well, I can see real well in the dark. And I can piss people off pretty good too.
How do you fit into this world?
How do you mean?
Well, you've told us a lot, kind of, about how things work, but what do you believe? Where do you fit?
I fit where I can. I go here, there, and I try to make friends, and I collect things.
What do you collect?
Useful things, not useful things, things to trade, things that I find interesting. No real one subject necessarily.
Did you build this cart, or did you trade for it?
Ah, that's insightful. I did not actually build it. I traded it with a friend.
Another gnome?
No.
Are these type of carts common around here?
Oh, no, not at all. This is practically unique. There are things that approximate it.
What did you? If this isn't Brian, because I don't want to be a dick. What did you trade to get a sweet cart like this?
Oh, mostly favors. Knowledge, information, things like that. I get around. I mean, you may meet my friend if we're heading. We're heading towards his town or city or.
Well, I mean, whatever you traded, it must have been freaking great to get a unique horseless carriage cart with a. I don't know what this is. It's fucking weird metal cart, but it's cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you have a proper name?
The gnome is what they've always called me.
What happens when we meet another gnome? How are we going to be able to tell the two of you apart?
I don't know. I've never met one.
Who is this everyone? Do you not have your own people?
No. All my friends are my people.
So yeah, you woke up here and you didn't really know who you were or have like a family or nothing like that.
No.
Nobody really claimed for you.
No.
So they just basically your entire knowledge of everything is here.
I mean, the things that I've learned.
Okay.
I've learned a lot.
Okay. Cool.
Certainly seems like you know more than the average person would.
I mean, have you met many average people?
Yes. God, yes.
Here?
No. Nope. You're the number one. You are technically the most average person we've met here.
For some reason, I feel like that's a compliment.
It's incredibly complimentary.
I don't know why.
He's both the best and the worst.
It's true.
And here's where he would pry into your paladinly, because we're talking about abilities and skills. If you give him any more details, he does give you a few directions. Specifically, I'm going to narrate in his voice for some freaking reason. God, this is chaotic.
Chaotic?
Chaotic. So how you say it here in Tor-Abir. I forgot where we are.
Oh.
I'm not drunk. It feels like when I talk like this, I'm not getting appropriate oxygen. My brain.
It's addictive, isn't it?
If you're curious about the primordials, many still slumber in these lands, and there is at least one group that I'm aware of that's trying to awaken them. They're a bit dodgy, but they're there. I can't quite recall their name, but they're around. You'll hear of them if that's something that you're interested in. Perhaps. As far as I don't know if they would gift you powers similar to this god that you recall.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir. In the back.
I don't feel any particular ties to home other than it's home. Is there a reason why we should be staying here as opposed to headed back?
Good question. I was going to ask you, what is your intent? Do you feel like you're going to replant your roots here with us in our plane, in our world, or do you intend on trying to find a way back home? I would assume that the latter would be your course, but I'm curious.
Well, I mean, that's a conversation I think the three of us need to have. I think there's definite benefits, but I don't think that we know enough about kind of the protocols and procedures and paradigms and all the other P words that have to do with this particular land to be able to judge that effectively here. We don't know how law works here. We don't know how money, how the economy works here. We don't know what's available, what we can do, if any of our skills are transferable. This is a complicated situation we got here, and let alone my.
You have things to shoot in this world?
I mean, if you're one that enjoys shooting, I suppose, yes.
You have people who are willing to pay someone to shoot things in this world?
I'm sure people do.
Sounds like our skills are transferable.
Well, if you're seeking additional information about portals or ways to and from our world and your world, I do have a suggestion. I have some friends. They call themselves the Watchers of the Schism. If you look them up, I'm sure they'll be able to give you some additional information. If you're seeking knowledge, they're the ones I would recommend.
Watchers of the Schism?
Indeed.
No way that's a trap.
A trap? Well, I'm confused.
I'm sure you are.
He can be a bit obtuse at times, but thank you for the advice. It's certainly something that we'll consider.
That's the extent. There's not much more unless you want to probe him for more information. Do you have any particular questions for him or thing as far as you travel? As far as the distance itself, it'll take you the better part of the day as you've been talking. The sun is rising. You can take naps and try to sleep because you basically were about to set up camp and you jumped in his car. So this can happen at any point during the journey.
It's still night, isn't it?
It is still night.
Yeah.
Dawn would be coming up.
Yeah, I do have some questions. Divine magic seems to have gone by the wayside here, but I noticed that my companion's arcane magic seems to still be working. Is that something that's particularly common here? Are there mages and wizards running about?
Certainly.
I'm a warlock, by the way. I am no mage. I'm a warlock.
Is that in character? Because you're not.
Oh, no, I'm a sorcerer.
I'm sure you're trying to like deceive.
Either way, I am neither a mage nor a wizard. I'm a sorcerer.
Sure. I guess you wouldn't have a benchmark for how common they are as compared to our world. I'm just curious if the magic of this land is inherently different.
Well, couldn't say.
Well, I mean, considering that we have gods of the old world and then they have primordials of this world, maybe they have primordial paladins.
Maybe.
You gotta find a paladin of the, I don't know.
It's possible.
Lava.
That might work. Though I have a feeling that it would be quite different. Primordials don't really speak to mortals in the same way that a mortal would speak to a mortal. And it sounds like you have some sort of conversation with your deity. They have concepts that you can understand, like peace and such.
So
Yes.
why are those? You said there's a group of people trying to wake up the primordials, yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
They have the reasons. I don't really spend a lot of time with them, but I've certainly heard rumblings. They seem benign enough. I mean, the primordials are there.
Yeah, that's what everybody says, and all of a sudden a 600-foot man comes walking through, stomping on houses.
That's a possibility. I mean, we have one primordial who's kept some semblance of order for some time. Some enjoy his rule, some don't. I mean, the alternative perhaps is to let the dragons come and we just serve them. They seem like dicks. Do you have dicks in your world?
I have dicks in your car.
Selwyn, if you would like you want to sleight of hand me something. First thing you notice as you're during this kind, you're looking for opportunities. What you notice, it's very odd as you're kind of just running your hands along these bulges and these cords. This tarp or whatever it is, whatever's on here is tied down and it's folded underneath whatever it is. Like it's tied tight in a way that you've not ever seen something tied. And you presume or you assume that there's some sort of magic involved in the securing of these items. However, you can see seams and you can see cords and bindings. So you, given enough time, and you have time back there, you could look and try to see of an optimal way to at least reach your hand through. You doubt you'd be able to. That's likely what you're going to have to do is like probably get a hand in there and see if you grab something.
Sure.
That'd be the easiest thing. Or you could try to get in, but everything seems bound tight, and it seems inconveniently tight.
I'm still gonna try it.
Sure. So then go ahead and give me a sleight of hand.
One roll, or do you want me to roll it?
I mean, you're going to know if you succeed.
Okay.
I'm more or less more mechanicals and less the stealth aspect of it.
Okay. That is a 23.
That is really good, but and you feel like you might be able to feel a seam, and it feels like there is some sort of give, but you cannot get purchase. You haven't been able to find a way. You think it might be doable, given a lot of time or perhaps some assistance of some kind. But no, you're not able to reach your hand underneath this tarp. You're frustrated because it's weird, and you're like, freaking, it's magic. You know that was, had this been any mundane, you should have no problem getting under a tarp. That's just ridiculous.
Your load's secured in an interesting way. Can you teach me how to do that?
Oh, it'd be hard to teach. It's mostly magic. Do you know magic?
I don't know magic. Can you teach me magic?
I mean, potentially, I certainly could. I'm not certain though. I've heard stories. Here it's fine. Everyone can do magic, but I've heard tales that dwarves cannot do magic in some realms. Is that the case from Toril?
I think that's just a rumor.
Well, I don't know when I could schedule such a lesson, when my time would permit, but myself or someone else would certainly be able to teach you. This is mostly artifact magic, which is something I have an affinity for, but I usually try to find those who are even better skilled than myself.
I'll keep that in mind.
Anything else you guys wanted to inquire with him about?
What's the currency of this realm?
That is a thing that the DM did not specify, so we're going to say gold and silver coins called something slightly different. So we're going to say gold and silver.
Sold in
still
Gilver.
works. It's not no Dragonlance steel, no bottle caps.
Silver stags.
Yeah, no credits. It's just gold and silver, and they do have different names. He'll specify that there's not a coinage that's universal for the lands. Each different basis of civilization generally has their own types of coinage that they do print depending on the level of sophistication. The place that you are traveling has their own methods of coin printage. Their gold pieces are called gold gears, and then silver nuts. So they have different terms, but generally gold and silver, and you're able to surmise that you'd be able to utilize that in most corners. Official purchases like land and property, you generally need to make sure that things are exchanged appropriately for the proper coinage. But it sounds like where you're heading is a fairly large city, so you shouldn't have a problem settling in. And apparently you all speak the same language, so that's convenient.
So I show him one of our coins. It's like, is this comparable to what you have?
He eyes it, but without eyeing it. No one's commented on the fact this guy's blind.
It hasn't mattered so far.
It hasn't mattered. It's just so accepting of disabilities. He eyes it a bit, and he kind of asks if he can hold it. So he touches it, and he's like just kind of steering with one hand, keeps the throttle with his knee, and he kind of touches it, and he's like, comparable enough. Seems like it's a bit weightier. Looks like there's more. Just it might be worth more than a single piece of gold here.
1.12 gold.
Yeah. Now,
Nah.
Excellent.
if he picked it up and was like, I can't tell, there's no braille on this, then I might worry about him driving.
Do they print money with braille?
Yeah,
I feel you just kind of learn the feel of the coinage.
would you
Yes,
be interested in
blind people can
trading
do money.
some of your coins for ours?
Would you be asking him directly?
Yeah.
Perhaps we could work something out. I don't generally have a ton of coinage on me, but I usually work in trade. But we'll see when we get to Pyreforge. So you did your attempt, and pretty much that's the extent you think you're going to have. I'll let you make one more check because it is a fairly long drive. You also will need to sleep because you didn't get to sleep. So this conversation is going to happen either before you went to sleep, after you went to sleep. Is there anything else you wanted to engage this guy with before rest appears, and then the next you attempt a long rest? And you can do it in shifts if you want.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Tarmus?
I know a Tarmac and a Thomas. No, I don't think I know a Tarmus.
All right.
Anybody else?
No?
Sweet. All right. So you have the benefits of a long rest, which basically you recover your hit points and you recover half of your hit dice if they have been spent. Because I believe that's the way we're rolling right now until I start to get really mean about it.
And spells.
And all your skills refresh.
And your spells.
Unless you're paladin.
Well, all your skills that you have access to refresh. All your daily skills, all those amazing paladin abilities that you took
All
for
the
granted.
smites and
Yeah.
lay on hands.
All that stuff tied to your spell list. Yeah. It's fun. Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun? Let's play a non-conventional D&D game. Everyone, don't you love it?
I'm enjoying it.
Good. It's just all for you.
Good.
Just,
As it should be.
these two, don't give a shit. Just don't even show the camera. Just keep this camera on. That's all that matters. Just edit everything else out. It is about, you would say early afternoon. It seems like the metaphysics are a bit wonky, but it feels like, especially at night, it feels like you can see similar stars. Everything seems the same except for the weird color of the way the light shines through, like with a bluish light, and the steel colored sky during the day. Beyond that, it feels like you're in the same space. The day seems appropriate. It feels hot. It feels like it's still late summer here. Just dry because you're in a desert. For those of you, how did you want to do your shift? How did you want to sleep? Who wants to be? You're going to just talk, and then go to bed around dawn, or how did you want to have these conversations play out? Do you want to sleep in shifts?
Sleeping in shifts would not necessarily occur to me.
It would not have occurred to Corsic either.
I don't think it would have occurred to me either.
So I presume I'm sitting in the little bitch seat, and then eventually I'll get lulled off to sleep, only to be woken up periodically by big bumps in the road.
Sure. So if you all basically just kind of talk and satisfy your curiosity, try to steal things until you get too tired to stay up and you fall asleep. You wake up with you hear like a loud "Brr!" and you just kind of come to a start, and you see you kind of acclimate yourselves in wherever place you're looking or wherever weird angle that you're at. You are fine. You had a perfectly delightful slumber with pleasant dreams.
Does the cap still work?
Because your cap still works.
It's not a divine cap. Good to know.
No. It's magic of dreams, and dreams are universal. Of course, you do have a kink in your neck. You could not. There's no way to get comfortable. It's a little miserable, but you've had similar mornings. And
I got a dwarf taking up all my leg room. Don't have enough room in the back to properly lay out. It's just not pleasant experience.
No, it's not great. But the vehicle is like slowly rumbling to a halt. And the gnome is just like, dang it, dang it, dang it.
Do it again without slapping the table, you heathen.
So he slams. He's banging on his devices as the vehicle is rumbling to a close, and he's just cursing at it. And eventually, he just pulls it off the road a bit to the side, and you just don't feel whatever sort of thing was cushioning you is not cushioning anything anymore, and it's just you're basically flying off your seat, and it falls to the side. And he's like, it should be fueled. He's like, he's just like on himself. He just stumbles out of the vehicle. He goes to a tank off to the side of the vehicle, and he checks it. And you see like this blue wisp of smoke kind of pop out. And he's looking at it, he's looking in there.
I get out.
Screwing it there. And like, He's just kind of circling around this thing and just stressing out and like worrying his scalp, taking his hat off. You see him kind of for a moment kind of like move this blindfolding bandana off his head and kind of like pick up some sweat. You can give me perception checks if you're curious as to his setup.
Natural 20.
Really?
Right there.
All right.
I perceived a 9.
Horseshit and
15.
now pretty good, but not good enough to notice something that quick unless you're trying to pay attention. But with a natural 20, what is your actual perception?
1.
Okay. Yeah, you do notice it.
No. Yeah, 12 is 1. 1.
Yeah.
Why did I write 0?
You.
1.
Did you improve your wisdom?
I did. I chose to improve wisdom and maintain the negative intelligence. Because I spot things more than I tell it.
I noticed.
You notice that he does seem to me completely missing one eye, missing his left eye. just an empty socket. But he does seem to have a right eye that at least there's an eye there. You don't get a good enough look to see if like it's a functioning eye or maybe it's blinded still. But he just pulls the blindfold back on over his head, puts his hat back on, just kind of puts his hands at his hips, and does a little Orko hobble. It's a He-Man reference. What's a contemporary cartoon that people would recognize? A little wizard. What's the name of the wizard from Final Fantasy? Final Fantasy 9?
Vivi?
Vivi. Vivi is also a good example.
From Final Fantasy 9, more contemporary.
Then He-Man. Yeah.
I don't know. I hear She-Ra's back out.
Yeah. There's a She-Ra. Type of Netflix She-Ra. Do you want to digress into a Netflix She-Ra conversation? No, but that's what he does. He digresses into a She-Ra conversation. And people have some opinions about this new She-Ra. I don't know which side I fall on this. I mean, I like boobs, but anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about. Just don't crash the car again.
Yeah, so he just kind of huffs. He's like, huh.
Is this a scheduled stop?
No.
Yeah, I'll get out as well.
As you kind of, you'll notice this too, just from a general perception. You're kind of more distracted a bit. You'll notice after a few moments. In the distance, what was far away is now close. It was what was once far is near. And it is a wall. It's a storm. Your butt's pucker because it looks like a freaking hurricane, like a massive storm barreling on top of you. It dominates the entire skyline in front of you. You glance behind and it's clear skies, and it goes up, and it seems to have like it's just a wall of like a tornado. It's damn Twister Town. It's that level of storm. Not even a mile away from you, you would guess. A bit over dunes, you can't really make sense. The road continues towards it. And it's flashing blasts of lightning, of blue lightning, and then normal white lightning, a combination of things. It is incredibly ominous, and you can hear the distant rumble and the electricity kind of in the air, but not as much. If you've experienced storms, it doesn't really feel quite as... the atmosphere, the ozone isn't quite as crackling as you maybe would assume if you have any connection. That might make you roll. So what do you guys do?
Mr. Noel, there's a sand blizzard coming at us here.
Oh, no worry. That's just there.
It doesn't move?
No, that's the storm.
And you were going to drive in it?
Well, after a fashion.
How far away from us is it?
You would guesstimate about a mile.
Okay.
What's up with your conveyance?
That's a good question. It does this sometimes. It's not out of fuel. I thought maybe I'm pretty low. That might be it. Maybe it wasn't refined properly. And he starts mumbling to himself, and I start dying. He just kind of he pulls out that weird wand, and it extends itself like as if it's got joints and like an appendage almost. And he kind of sticks it into the thing, and he's kind of looking at the wand. It looks like it's looking at something on the wand. It's like reaching into holes and cracks and crevices, and he puts it into the tank, pulls it out. And it's got this. He pulls it out. There's like this green, there's like this blue fluid after he pulls it out of what would appear to be this fuel tank. And he kind of moves some of the fuel, and he kind of throws it on the ground, and he hits it with the stick as if with another piece of metal he pulls out, and it ignites in like a blue flame, and then it kind of flickers and turns black, and then smokes. He's like, it could be foul. It could be foul. He looks at the two of you. He's like, the three of you. Like, all right, maybe we can help each other out here. Like, would you mind doing a favor for me?
Depends on what the favor is, but I'm inclined to help.
Real simple. So, I have a delivery to make. And I really just need you to do this for me. After this is done, we can meet. And you can give me the completion of that delivery. and I can be on my way, and you could be on your way, and perhaps you can be appropriately compensated. He takes the same extending thing, and he slides it underneath one of these into the back of the truck, and you see someone, you definitely notice it. It slides underneath the canvas sack, and he kind of pulls something out. And it's another odd little piece of metal. And he kind of looks at it.
That's what you need delivered?
It's like, no, this isn't it. And he puts it under he puts it quickly under his cloak. And he scratches his head and he's like, a couple things. And he's rummaging through himself. And it's like, well, I'll have to try a few things. This is complicated. He takes the little wand again, and he puts it into a different orifice on this device, and the device begins to kind of like clank and rumble, and you see like pieces of it kind of pull apart. Like it looks like there was like a very tight seam, and it just kind of separates itself, and then it starts folding in on itself. You see the canvas bags get pulled down into it, and it weirdly reforms itself into like a smaller and smaller conveyance, making weird clicking, whirring, grinding noises as it does so.
It's a transformer,
and it eventually becomes it looks like a almost weirdly shaped metal box, and then it opens itself up, and a canvas outline kind of fold like grossly like opens like a prolapsed anus around it. Sorry, I had to do it.
Google image search.
Just pop in right there.
I was trying to get over you referring to them as orifices.
Glad I could help.
It's not technically incorrect.
And it takes appearance of what appears to be some sort of bag, like a doctor's actually. Like it has a handle, and it's got some sort of leather or canvas material on it. Relatively large, maybe 3 feet or so in length, and it's a big, obnoxiously sized thing. And he pops. So if he's nonplussed about it, he's just doing it. He's just focused on it. Opens it up. He's like, "This is much easier. I don't know why I make it so hard on myself." And he pulls out this wrapped something. It looks like maybe it'd be the size of a large turkey, and it's wrapped in like a cloth, just wrapping, and then bound, like tied tight with a string. But it's not. It's basically the size of, maybe you would say like more shaped like an egg, not shaped like a turkey. It has like an oval almost shape to it. It's all wrapped up.
What is that?
He goes, this. I mean, I guess you probably wouldn't even know what this is.
That's why we asked.
It's. I mean, basically, it's product. It's unrefined sapphire, and I need it refined. So if you wouldn't mind taking this into town, I'm gonna still see if I can get this working, because it should have enough fuel. It shouldn't be a problem. But I do need that done, and it feels like you need some help, and I can help you out. Would you mind?
Well, I presume we got to go walk through the sand blizzard, yeah?
Technically, yes and no. There's the entrance to the town is outside. You'll see it. Just head down the road. You'll be fine.
The sand blizzard's in a town?
Yeah. No, the other way.
The town's in a sand blizzard.
Right, and it's more than a sand blizzard. You could see it's like a storm of...
No, it's a damn thunder snow over there. But what I'm like, we got to walk through it, right?
Well, I trust that if he needs us to come back with refined whatever it is, he's not going to send us to do something that we're not going to come back from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're appropriately dressed.
And aside from the storm, the environment is generally the same as when we went to sleep. We're still in a desert.
Yes. You do see the terrain, as you notice, there's a little bit more rock exposed, like rock faces. So less dunes. There's still dunes, but you do see as you kind of look around. You don't know if it's ruins that have just been worn down. You can't really tell the shape of the structure anymore. And you still see what seems to be a road of some kind that you've been traveling along.
Who are we going to find to refine this?
He's like, well, I have a guy that I use to do this kind of work. Or I would like you to take it because that's the only way you're going to get reimbursed appropriately. Just so glad for you to lead this guy so I can stop doing this voice. If you can head to the Crudbellow refinery and talk to the proprietor, I have an arrangement with him. However, make sure that the gnome told you to tell him that he should reimburse this fine group of capable adventurers appropriately.
I'm waiting for Andrew to finish writing
I got it.
that particular phrase down.
Just make sure you say that specifically, and he will definitely reimburse you appropriately for your troubles, and it should give you a good head start at whatever you decide to do here.
No way that's a trap.
That seems reasonable enough.
A few other things. And he rummages through his... He actually hands this thing to whoever is near him and will take it. All right, you grab it. It's weighty. Like, it's a heavy... It feels like a heavy stone. But if it is stone, it's a little lighter than you would expect. Looking at the type of stone, the sandstone here, lighter than... Or the rocks that you've noticed. It's alloy. You know how to judge weights of stones, precious or non-precious, and you assume there's some sort of value to this thing. The weight seems a bit odd to you.
Any special handling instructions for this thing? And as I say that, I knock on it pretty hard.
You're pretty good. Exposing it to flame is dangerous, but in its unrefined state, it's not too exposed. You should be fine. You would pretty much need an axe and pick or some other sort of device at hand to really cause a problem. So you should be fine. It's wrapped. Exposing it to very chaotic or destructive magics would be bad. So don't do that. Definitely don't do that.
What would happen?
I mean, a lot of things, but ultimately probably death.
I thought you said this was sapphire.
Well, that's what we call it. Do you have... Does that mean something to you?
What do you mean that's what we call it?
Well, we're from sapphire is something you make pretty earrings out of.
No, I mean, that's not what we call that here. Is sapphire a stone?
It's a gemstone.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a gemstone.
So
It doesn't have the consistency of a proper gemstone, though.
I've been magicking for a little bit. Have sapphires... Do I know about sapphires affecting magic in any way, shape, or form?
You do know that gems often are used for various types of spellcasting. So it's not out of the ordinary, but it's certainly not something that you just use.
Also, there is no goddamn way that there's a sapphire the size of a turkey
That you'd be able to carry.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely. You're a little curious.
Yeah.
You're like,
Definitely.
fucking against sapphire. But he's a little confused. I mean, the sapphires appeared after the Breath of Blue change. That's what I was fishing for.
Where do we need to take this to?
Crudbellow Refinery.
Crudbellow.
In the city, just ahead.
Is there anything that we need to be aware of? Any
Dangers.
crazy creatures, or is anyone going to challenge us to a riddle contest or some other
Bandits.
foolishness?
Riddle contests are always a possibility. Crazy creatures also, even in the city, though, if you stay to the main thoroughfares and try not to go any sort of weird back alleys or down into the sewer systems, or it really depends on how adventurous you are. You should be fine. Have you been to a city before?
I have been to a city before.
I have no idea if that's an appropriate point of reference for you. Our cities tend to be dangerous if you're not paying attention, and you will be new. So,
I'm always paying attention.
That sounds about right.
yeah.
I'm always new.
He says when you're there, you could actually, ultimately, if I don't find you, Let's see. How's the best way to do this? Well, I will likely be revisiting my friends.
Is there a particular... I don't know. Do you call them taverns?
Pubs?
Certainly. There's pubs and taverns and bars all over the city.
Is there one in particular that you would like to meet us at?
I don't really partake. Let's say if I don't find you or send word to you through the refinery, let's say, and if you don't deem to come out looking for me, because I could still be trying to figure this out myself, though. Let's say 3 days. I will eventually, if I am capable, will make my way into the city myself, and I will likely, at least at some point, stop by and say hello to my friends that I mentioned before.
Yeah. Where we're from, someone from another world, it's an oddity, but doesn't raise an eye. What type of reception should we expect?
Well, other than your friend here, Corsic, right?
Yes.
I mean, he looks a bit odd. Like I look a little bit odd. So he'll stand out. The two of you will blend in fine. Right, you have an ancestry that's curious.
Do you not have the pointy ears?
No, that's why I stand out.
All right.
Cool.
Even that shouldn't be too. I mean, shouldn't be too much trouble. I mean, there's plenty of odd folk about it. It's a pretty cosmopolitan
Just
place.
remember that you have it on, so whenever anybody says anything weird, you just know.
Yeah.
Read Primordial and shit.
Yeah. If I really want to be creative, I would make everyone speak a different language, so you just have to constantly go through Corsic for everything and interpret. Like, I know what he's saying. How do we? Yeah. That'd be fun. Wouldn't that be fun?
No.
Let's do that. I still got time.
You just want to have somebody else talk so you don't have to be Grover all the time.
Just as long as every different language has its own Sesame Street equivalent.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Hi, how's it going?
Who is that?
That's some other NPC, some soft voice NPC.
No, what Sesame Street character did you just do? Not
Oscar.
just like one of the people?
One of Oscar's
I
girlfriends.
tried to do Big Bird.
Hey.
Wait,
Hey,
that's
buddy.
Big Bird? All right, just do Poncho now. I just want to hear the difference. That was Big Bird, so now Poncho say hey.
Hey.
That's different.
Yeah, Big Bird's in the like a nasal registry.
That's Michael Jackson.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, too nasally.
Yeah. All right. He does rummages and he's like, some things might help. He hands you. He hands you back. He actually pulls something else cloak and he hands you back that holy symbol that you gave him as trade. And we ever define what that looked like?
We have not.
So he kind of looks at it. He's like, "This should help." He hands it back to you, and it is kind of a non-symmetrical 5-pointed starburst with an eye off center.
In the middle of it?
Off
In
center
the middle area, but off center?
Off the middle to off center. And the starbursts are kind of going in the other direction of the eye.
Are you player knowledging this a little bit, Mr. Andrew?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
So he says, when you head down the road, and when you get to the towers, make sure to catch the light and flash it 3 times. 3 times is fine.
Okay. That sounds...
Up at the towers.
Got it.
And you should be good. And then you'll take the tunnel, and...
What happens if we don't do that?
I mean, you most likely you'll just not get it in the city. You don't look particularly threatening, so you should be fine. If you try to force your way into the city, then there could be trouble.
All right, let's go.
I don't like this. We should be fine.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We're tough. Oh, we're level 4 now.
All right.
Woe befall those who get in our way.
Oh, whoa. So you begin your trek. Again, it's only about a mile down the road, and the distance, the travel is not too difficult. You do have somewhat of a stone road, kind of tripping a bit. Kind of get the kinks out of your back and your neck as you're walking. But in that car was definitely not comfortable. Or vehicle, or wagon, the horseless carriage. I'm sorry. Eventually, as you get beyond one of the dunes and some of the rock outcroppings, you get where you feel like you're basically right up on the storm, and it's terrifying. It's right there, and it looks like at any moment it's going to bulge out and just overwhelm you. However, I'm assuming you press on with belief that you will be safe. And you see that this storm, as you kind of look down, with almost like a slope. The storm it's on the ground. It's spewing up dust clouds of sand all around its base, and it is literally just, there's a point of termination that's just right there. And what you notice at the end of this road continues on towards the storm, and it stops, and there appears to be some sort of tunnel, and two towers stand high, about, you would say, about 60 feet or so above this tunnel. And this tunnel is about 60 feet in width as well. And it appears to be made out of some sort of metal. And it comes up to about 30 feet and stops, and it has a roof. And it continues into the storm. It's like a covered tunnel made of metal and possibly stone. From this distance, it's hard to kind of differentiate specifically. It has some sort of door in front of it that isn't as closed. And you see all along these towers are weird shapes kind of along the sides and on the top. As you continue down to approach it, and you get closer and closer, you can see these shapes seem to be visages, monstrous beings of different sizes and types. Insects and flying reptiles, things like that, carved into these towers. And what you're noticing is that there seems to be these extended bits of metal on the edges of the tunnel and up along these towers. And along these bits of metal, you see blue lightning crackling and blue flames spurting over different points along this tunnel structure. And as it moves up these statues, you can see that some of the statues get closer, like the light is flashing out of their eyes and out of their mouths, and kind of a menacing.
So it looks like these things were designed to be scary.
They definitely do. You would assume, unless this world, these things are cuddly animals or Pokemon of sorts. Yeah, they do. They look like scary things that you would also equate as scary. Some of them look fairly alien. Some of them look fairly familiar. There's an owlbear. There's one of them.
Nice place.
Yeah.
As you move down the road, you can see there's a door. The door itself doesn't appear to have any obvious handle. It does seem to have a seam on it, or several seams actually, but it's hard to really make out. What are you gonna do? How close are you gonna get? What are you gonna do? Just what do you do as you approach this thing?
Well, we get kind of close, 30 feet away or so.
Yeah, I have the symbol. I was told to put it in the light and reflect the light back at the towers, and then there's no, huh?
Do it.
Yeah, is there like a column of light or anything coming out, or
no? I mean, you
anything distinguishable from the general surroundings?
I think you're just supposed to catch the sun, my brother.
Sunlight, the flashes of blue light, but that would be odd to time.
Yeah, I'll try and signal. Take the thing and I guess see if there's any reaction to it from the tower.
Okay, you can get some reflections of sunlight fairly easy. I think that you would go ahead and give me an intelligence check.
Sure. That's a 19.
Okay. Yeah. You find that you can capture the sun, and then you also see that you capture, as you're kind of playing with it, you can capture the light, the blue light as well. So you kind of hedge your bets, and you kind of do both. You kind of get it to flash about 3 times. And when you do that, you see kind of like the fire kind of burst a bit out of the orifices along the tower, and it flashes 3 times. And then you hear kind of a rumble towards this cave, and then nothing.
I think we're clear.
You talked about a tunnel. Tunnels go to caves.
So
Let's go in the cave.
yeah, let's try for it.
All right,
I'll let you go first.
Absolutely.
you approach this like wide doorway. You would assume, or just wall. As you get close, it looks more like a wall. There's weird inscriptions and angles and seams on it, but mostly there's horizontal seams. Apparently, you don't. As you get close, it's still shut in front of you.
He just said flash the light 3 times, right?
Yeah, that's what he said.
So I go up and I touch the. You said it's like a seam, right? So I go up and I just touch it.
Okay. Give me
Oh shit!
a.
Reflex save against death.
No, I actually need you to give me a
Initiative.
wisdom saving throw.
8.
Oh, okay. So you go ahead and touch it.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What does it look like? It says don't touch. Was there a sign?
Yeah. You go to touch it, and as you go to touch it, you feel like there's like a light shock on your hand, and you lay your finger on the wall, and you get blasted back. He actually shoots back like 10 feet onto his ass. Actually, give me a dexterity saving throw.
18.
Yeah, you're able to kind of catch yourself and land on your feet, kind of skid into the dirt, in the rock. You take 5 points of electrical damage.
Jesus Christ. 3.
That was a reference.
I'm glad you caught it.
Corsic. No way. That's a trap.
It does seem to be, yes. I must have done something wrong, so I'm going to try and do it again and see if there's any different noticeable reaction. And take the symbol and flash it in a similar way to what I did before. And flash it 3 times.
You don't get an additional reaction. You guys,
I'm going to inspect it.
Sure.
And see if it's a trap.
give me a perception check.
That is a 23.
Okay. You don't see anything on the seams of the door, but on the 2 columns on the side of this structure, this seems like they are mostly stone, reinforced with this metal. There's like supports or beams on either side of it. But the stone facing, you see that there apparently is some sort of, looks like a lever or switch that can be moved. Like a heavy leather, it's like a carved wood, kind of padded thing. It's clearly some sort of mechanism that can be moved.
Does it look like it's an obvious? Is this a puzzle or a light switch? Like when I look at it, it's like
you would presume switch. Okay. It is a bit high for you though. Like you're gonna probably have to hop.
It's not dwarf accessible.
You could hop and grab it and pull it down. It would look a little undignified, but you certainly could do it.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to make it look dignified.
Okay, then
I'm gonna try to.
So with a giant rock the size of a turkey under one arm, you reach up with the other arm and bounce.
Are you more concerned about getting a good grip or landing with grace?
We will decide that on the outcome of the dice.
Well, no, I need to know what you need to roll. So are you more concerned about making sure you get a hold of this thing and that looks manly, or are you more concerned about landing with dignity, which is your approach?
I'm not concerned with landing with dignity. I am concerned with making it look cool to get a grip.
So then, give me a strength athletics check.
That is a 14.
Okay, yeah. You hop up and just almost looks like a reach, and you just kind of grab, like a good firm grab, and you just use your weight to kind of pull it down, and you comes down a little. You come down a little hard, but you can see your forearm muscles as you're pulling down, and like you're pretty sure that's all anyone saw was just this.
Okay,
like that was it. You got a little wobbly legs.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you did.
What a cool guy.
Yeah, you're pretty sure that he's the coolest guy in the party now.
Actually, I'm pretty sure by now I'm back over there. I'm just like, way to go, cool guy. Freaking whatever, dude.
So as that happens, and you hear a bunch of like a whirs and cranks, and then you see this wall just seems to kind of move up, and then it seems like it moves up to the ceiling and then kind of fold back into the ceiling. And
Like a garage door?
like exactly like a garage door. And you can see into this tunnel, which for you guys won't really matter, but it is lit. There are little lights. You can still see blue, occasional blue flashes of electricity along the ceiling. They kind of sparks, but also you can see it kind of along the ground, deep into this tunnel. And in front of you there's kind of like platforms. Nobody is there. You don't see any other people. But there are several platforms. It's not dusty. There's looks like storage places and shelves. But most of this area is taken up with several, looks like tracks as if for like mining equipment. And you see several containers that look like shallow mine carts. And they all seem to have benches in them. And there is, on each of them, they have like what would you assume like a break of some kind. There's 6 different tracks of these. One of the tracks has like a large, heavier platform, like sort of cart on it. And there's actually a few open crates on that already. And then the other groupings of them are, one of them's completely empty. You see nothing there. And there's 2 that have carts on them.
Any peoples?
You don't see any people. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
Oh, hard to perceive peoples. 17.
Yeah. You don't see anybody, but it does seem like this is some place that's been used and is used relatively frequently.
Are there any signs?
You don't see any particular signs that are obvious, like in identifying the town.
Well,
sort of thing.
no. I'm like, you said that there's a bunch of like cubbies and stuff. I want to see if this is like, I'm curious if this is some sort of like secure area, right? Like when I walk into a place and I see a bunch of cubbies everywhere, like I would presume, I don't know if they're looking for us to like put weapons here, and if they have any special rules about what you can and can't carry in the town. I presume that those would be placed outside the town or in the area where everybody has to enter. So, hey, put all your big giant sapphires in this bin and we'll all check them, or,
Right.
take your keys out. And
Sure.
yeah.
You were able to discern. Give me an investigation check. You can take advantage on that, actually.
Might not help.
It does. That would be a 17.
All right. You can find there are a few signages. There's a few notations. The crates are empty. You see, there are some. There's some rope. There's some hammer and nails. There's some equipment laying around. There's a few things that are named. There's a little there's nameplates or a few documents strewn about. You can't make out some of the language at all. Some of it looks close to common. So you're able
what's
to discern
this?
it.
Do I organize it?
Yeah, if you use your helm.
Yeah.
It's on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're able to comprehend all of it. Some of it is in languages that you don't understand. The common is in a slightly different script. But after a little perusing, even with yourselves, you're like, okay, you don't get it. It's not quite Russian, but it's a bit off. Things are spelled close to what they're spelled. There's other versions of it. Most of the documentation seems consistent, and you feel like given enough time, you were able to just kind of get used to it. Some of the other script is very alien to you, but you're able to discern it. It's very similar. So these are like parts of old manifests. There's some storage thing. There are a few valuables here as far as like supply items that you would find. This is generally not. This is like a staging area. This is like a staging area for and leaving and entering. It's not one that is used frequently. So why there's no one here, you can assume this is not a very well used one, but this is definitely some place that has that kind of vigor. You don't have any place to put weapons. There's no signage giving you any direction. There's some signage just giving you like instructions for operating the devices. So there's some of that. So you're able to clearly see how they work. There's danger notices for do not touch the sides of the structure. I thought that was your ass, and that was not. That was Bentley.
They have a billowing ass.
You gave me a thumbs up. I'm like, all right. I mean, cool.
Your ass billows.
When Corsic uses his helm, is he able to read another language, or is the other language in common? Like, does he know that he's looking at whatever script is going on?
Does it translate in my head, or does it like scramble my vision and make it look like
No,
common?
I think it actually, what it does is it makes you understand. Actually, how would that work? Because it seems to imply that you would understand the language as if you just the way that you understand if you're bilingual or multilingual. Like it just
So
translates.
you would know. So he would look at it.
But you can't speak the language, so
No.
maybe it
I'm
doesn't
picking up.
do that.
I'm picking up the meaning.
So
in
how
the
would
way-
that?
Well, I mean, it depends. If you're a bilingual person, and somebody says something like if you speak English and German, and somebody says something in German, in your head it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But it depends. Like I presume that it would depend on whether or not you are thinking in German or whether you are hearing it in German, translating it into your head
Yeah.
into English, and then comprehending what's said. And considering that it is vague and ambiguous, I think that Andrew Summers gets to choose.
I'm curious because in this case, if you were wearing the helm, and I think you said you were wearing the helm the whole time, when we came in here, is it a case where like you're looking at stuff and it's like, cool, I recognize all of this stuff, and we're like, we don't know what the hell it is, or is it a case of, oh, that's a foreign language?
I have to activate. It's an ability I have to activate. It's not a constant thing.
Yeah.
So I'm aware that it's not
Okay.
something I would normally be able to understand until I trigger it.
Mm-hmm.
The tracks.
I don't think it matters. I was just curious as
It's interesting
to how that worked.
Yeah. Well, I'll just steal it like immediately as soon as it becomes too useful, but it'll explode. It'll turn into a gremlin. Start eating your brain. So what do you do?
Go on. Well, so some of these carts here look like they have brakes, right?
They all appear to have brakes. So there's some clear instructions as if just for heavy machinery or for machinery that people may or may not normally use. This has some disuse, and there's no one there to kind of instruct it, but there's definitely writings and markings. You would sit in the device, and the device is like a brake, but it works. It's not a brake per se. There's actually several things, but when you actually have to engage it into the track, there's like another part of the track, and that apparently makes it go forward, and then it stops on its own. You don't know that it does, but it seems to say that it does.
How's the track look? Does it look like it's in good condition?
It doesn't look. You don't see any debris. Doesn't look like it's been abandoned. It's just used like it's not in constant use. At least far as you can see, you don't see anything in front of the track. The track doesn't seem broken or particularly worn, so it seems relatively safe.
And it's going in over relatively flat ground.
Yes. It seems completely flat. You just see a tunnel that goes in one direction and apparently doesn't diverge.
Cool. I want to hop in and mess around with the controls a little bit and see if I can figure it out.
Okay. You engage it. Are you going to try to engage it while you're messing around? All right. So, Selwyn, you jump in and you engage the device. You hear a and then it just starts going forward at a slow pace.
Yep.
And it keeps you to pick up pace, and then it goes to get really, really fast.
Okay, I jump up.
All right, give me a acrobatics check.
I'm pretty good at that, but not with 4. So good thing that went up. I got a 12.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to kind of tumble a bit. I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Pretty good at that too. There goes that 4 again. That will be a 10.
Okay. As you tumble, you almost, to kind of catch yourself, you almost place your hand on one of the middle rails, and then you realize that that's where this electricity is being conducted, and you kind of shift and you kind of land on your elbow, and you don't put your hand there, and you can kind of feel the electricity kind of on these center rails of each of these tracks.
So this isn't a monorail.
I think I know how these work now.
You okay there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Is that one still going?
Yeah.
Don't touch this.
Don't touch the sides. All right. Well, I'll get in a different one.
Are these
Okay.
are these carts large enough to where the three of us could occupy one of them, or would it be cramped?
Yeah, you could fit 6 people cramped on any of these, all the smaller ones.
Okay, so 3 people should be fine.
Yeah, and there's these. What did I say? There's only 2. I think there's only 2. Yeah, so there's only 2 of them now. There's only 1. of the
Cool.
smaller
I'll
ones.
hop in the other one.
Yeah, I'll hop in.
Okay. I'm assuming that you're all hopping in.
Yes.
Yeah, just don't jump out this time.
But hold on. I hand you the thing.
Oh, forgot that you had that. You had that the whole time. Or you just had that down before.
Too late now.
Let's assume. Where did you actually have that?
It's too late now.
Okay, I should have remembered. That he had that, and possibly would have set it down in the seat, and it would be gone. All right, it's fair. I forgot.
Right. So I hand you the thing, and I go to the other cart. Is it possible for me to activate it without being in it?
Which there's only the large cart that's on 2 tracks, and there's only 1 more of these smaller carts.
Okay, which one are we in? Which one are you in?
The
We're getting
smaller
the
one.
smaller ones are for people. The big one appears to be for heavy cargo.
Okay. The other small one then.
Yeah,
That's the one they're sitting in.
where once there were
Okay.
3 carts. There was
Okay.
there was 2 people
Then-
carts and a heavy cart,
okay.
and you sent a people
Well,
cart
if
away.
there's only one other cart, then I'm going to activate that one.
Okay, are you gonna get in it?
Can I activate it from not being in it?
I mean, your friends are in it.
No. The one that they are not
wants-
in.
He wishes
large
to,
one.
He wishes to push the lever on the heavy cart without
Yes.
being in it.
Okay. Well, when you get onto the large cart, you see that they're actually
Does he have to get onto the large cart, or
Yes.
can he walk to the side of it?
he can walk in. The levers are in front of the carts.
Okay, that was his question. Does he have to be in the cart
You
to
have to
operate
be
it?
on the cart to operate it.
Okay. All right. So
And
yes.
you also notice on this large cart there are 2 levers.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Okay. Can I figure out? Is there anything else interesting in this cart?
In the large cart,
Yeah.
you see a couple crates.
Okay.
Looking in them, there's some like sand, and like you would assume is something that's used as packing material. Some leather scraps. How thoroughly are you gonna investigate the?
I'm gonna take a few minutes to look.
Give me a
look it over.
perception check.
Meanwhile, we're just like,
Hey, Selwyn, what are you doing?
15.
Yeah, you find what appears to be a gold piece shaped like an oddly like a broken gear.
Okay. How big are these crates?
They're large. There's a few different sizes. Some are only a few feet
Okay.
in diameter. There's at least one of the larger one, the one you found the gold piece in with most of the packing material, was about 7 feet by 7 feet
That's
square.
big.
It's pretty big.
That's a smaller one.
That's one of the larger one. That's the largest one.
How small is the smaller one?
Small one's about like a 3-foot
Cool.
crate.
I want to take that crate.
Mm-hmm.
Does it fit in? Before I take it, does that crate fit inside the cart that we're in?
It
That we're
would.
going to be in?
You could make it fit. Yes.
Okay. So I grab the crate and I hand it to you. It's like, hey,
There's like seats, so it would you'd have to lean it on a seat. It won't fit flat. There's no space. There's a little bit of space for what you would consider to be maybe traveling gear, but this box is a little too wide to sit in that back space.
okay, then screw that. All right, so I grab the box and I hand it to you, and when it doesn't fit, I just dump it.
What are you doing?
yeah, get in the cart.
Dungeons and Dragons, everybody.
So I do want to get back into the big cart, and see if it works the same way. If I can get it engaged, if I can get it engaged with the intention of jumping out as soon as it.
It has 2 levers.
It has 2 levers. So you go to try to engage one lever, and it won't move. It feels like it's
Okay.
engaging with something else. And a brief investigation, you can see that these 2 levers are mechanically connected to each other. It seems like they have to be there's a break, like a release, and they have to both be by 2 operators
Sure.
engaged at the same time.
Yeah. All right, so I go back in the other cart.
Okay.
And I push the lever.
Okay. You push the lever, and it explodes! It was a trap card! Sorry, guys. That's how it's run.
You activated my trap card.
No way, that's a trap.
Yeah, you activate it, similar to the one that went away. You hear a spark of electricity, and it begins to engage. I just kind of lean back. You see there's kind of like securing straps that you can kind of put on yourselves. But you're going in one direction. It picks up speed faster and faster and faster to a kind of a ridiculous pace.
Like Willy Wonka?
That was in my head.
It feels like that,
There's
but
no
it's
way.
not. It's not cartoonishly fast. But in your experience, similar to traveling in that vehicle, actually it feels like it's going a bit faster because there doesn't seem to be.
Can I affect the
friction.
speed with the lever?
No, you cannot disengage this lever at all.
Is it like a two-step thing? It's like off, on, and there's no...
Yeah, once it's engaged, it doesn't seem like you have any direct control that you can make out.
Can I pull it back the other way?
No, you can't disengage it.
Oh,
It's
shit.
locked until
Does-
destination.
Does it feel dangerous in here? Like, do we feel like we're going to be flung out, or
It does feel like if this thing comes to a sudden stop, you definitely feel like you're going to go flying forward if you don't secure yourself.
Okay.
If that's what it does. You have no idea where this could just drop you off a cliff for all you know. The different lights are kind of flashing by. Do any of you guys secure yourselves?
Yes.
I mean, as we start to go and I see the belt, yeah, I'll probably put the belt on.
Okay. You want to roll for airline safety belts?
roll for belt.
I don't want to secure myself because I want to be able to I want to be able to react if I need to react. But knowing what this could potentially be, like, can I brace myself, or is not securing myself just stupid?
John, you're aware that this card is made for people, right? So
Sure, but I don't know where it goes, and I don't know how.
Well, you can be paranoid if you want. That's
sure.
fine. So
Okay.
yeah, if you instead of tying yourself in, instead of tying
you just rolled
Is
for
this-
12 hours in a horseless
Listen.
carriage with a blind man at the helm.
I didn't
You get it?
It fell asleep.
Is this driving without a seatbelt, or is this riding a roller coaster without a seatbelt, without the brace?
you would if this continues in a straight line and doesn't stop slowly, you think it's like riding a roller coaster.
Okay,
with a
then I'm
brace.
going to embrace myself.
If-
Then I'll brace myself in.
But if it turns, I mean, if it stops slowly, you feel that you don't need to put a seatbelt on. Since it doesn't look like it's turning. But if it does start to turn and weave, you don't know at this speed. If it like suddenly makes a left turn at this speed, you feel like you'd be flung
Okay,
out.
so that sounds unreasonable to not secure myself. We're driving without a seatbelt is perfectly acceptable, particularly if you're going to careen into something. Okay, so I secure myself as well.
The Amorous Armadillo top tip,
Safety tips.
safety tips, driving without a seatbelt,
Completely
perfectly
fine.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Perfectly reasonable.
You never know what you're going to careen into.
Yeah, absolutely.
You need to be able to duck and weave and roll. You need to be able to roll out of that.
Need to jump out of the car? It's
Yeah.
perfectly good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I concur. So the eventually this thing begins to slow down a little abruptly for your taste. You do feel yourself kind of like pull on this thing.
Good thing I secured myself.
Yeah, good thing you secured yourself. You would have possibly banged your head. But it does slow down. You come into another space similar to the one you're in. The one before, this one is wider. There's more here. And the thing that you notice here is you actually notice like there are like doorways, actual like one seems to be an aperture similar to the one that you entered in. Others seem to be like a conventional door, and there's slits that look like windows that are actually allowing light, and there's other sources of illumination as well. You don't see anybody else here in this spot, but it's similarly set up. These have empty crates. These crates are stacked. They look to be, at glance, to be empty crates for future use. You don't see anything obviously of worth storing these shelves. This looks like it's prepped for use. But what you do notice is through some of the apertures in the doorway, you see like shadows and movement, and you can hear noise, and you can still hear like the crackling of electricity, and you hear like the grinding of metal and stone and like a pressurized air. In addition, you hear the general murmur of what you would equate to be city life. People talking.
Cool. Is the other cart that we launched, or that I launched at the end?
It is there, yes. Okay. You see it there as you arrive in the same similar spot to where you are at.
Cool. I want to send it back.
Okay. Okay. So you re-engage it.
Sure. I don't want to leave some like
Yeah.
worker who was on his lunch break out there. Fuck, I gotta work.
Well, yeah. When you get to the end, you see this is a little odd to you. Is you try to re-engage the thing to send it back the other way, and it won't re-engage.
Okay.
Like it won't go back.
So is the door locked?
You're gonna go try to unlock the door. I'm presuming.
Well, first, is this?
It's not ajar.
It is ajar.
It is not.
Okay. Is it?
So it's not clearly locked or unlocked.
Is the floor like a gravel floor, or is the floor like a wood floor or a concrete floor or something like that?
You see a few raised platforms that are actually on like a raised wood. The floor itself is like a stonework.
Okay. Is there like a little pebble or a tiny rock or a little shard of something?
Certainly, yeah. Like a lot of back in the tracks, a lot of that was all gravel and stuff. So you
Cool.
can
I'll
grab
pick
some
up.
of
I'll pick up a little like a taconite pellet or something and just kind of chuck it at the door.
Doors don't work that way.
Is it?
Does it?
Does it shock the? Does it shoot the rock back at me?
It doesn't shock the rock. No.
Cool.
Doesn't shock the rock.
Of course, it goes and try and open the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you head out and you open the door, and you're kind of like the door opens. There's like a little bit of a lever. You can see that there's a locking mechanism that could be engaged on this particular door, but it's not. It opens, and you pull it in, and you're kind of bombarded with the noise, and the smells, and the sights of. You basically just see city streets, stonework, ground, people, hustle bustle, mostly humans, odd-looking humanoid people. Like you see somebody walk by and his head's on fire, effectively. You would be familiar, potentially. You've seen Genasi a few times. There's more than a couple of those, much more in these crowds moving about than you were accustomed to. But yeah, you're in a city. Do you head out into the crowd?
Yeah, it looks like a city, guys. So let's get going.
Cool.
Okay. First thing you kind of notice the sounds, the constant sound of not just crowds, but this din of what sounds to be metal work and grinding gears and flowing. It sounds like flowing water, and that crackle. And you see buildings that are much larger than what you're used to, not built in a way that you're familiar with. Mostly a lot of stonework structures. Some metal beams and girders and such are incorporated in some of these structures, which is odd. And tubing. You see a lot of tubing on all of these buildings, and then large metal spikes. And you can see, if you look up, you can see the sky is just a constant electrical storm. And you see bolts of lightning striking down into some of these metal spikes all over the city, and some are in more concentrated areas. There's a constant stream. You see the city itself seems to be on a relatively flat plain, but you can't make out. It seems like from this space there's a large kind of like thoroughfare here, like a large walkway, and you see a few folks pulling like different wagons and things of that nature. You don't see any obvious animals, but you see similar conveyances to what you rode in with the gnome, but a much simpler versions of it, going a relatively slow pace, but seems to just be kind of powered, that are moving through the city and are given some kind of leeway. They seem to be mostly used for moving packages and moving items, but there are a few that seem to be a more social conveyance here and there. But most people are on foot. Beyond this kind of large thoroughfare you're in, you can see a few benches, because it's definitely not a marketplace or anything to that extent. But there are a few business and storefronts that you can make out. Then it seems to branch out into various different, more like alleyways in the distance, and a few thin, skinny roads. Skinny's not the right word. It's all chaotic, and it's very hard for you to parse together. Waterdeep was similar to some extent, but the way that these buildings are structured makes it feel very alien to you. So how are you going to approach this?
Remember where we parked?
Are there any particular landmarks around this area that are distinctive from everything else. I imagine everything looks alien. And that, as far as that goes, it might be difficult to...
Street signs, perhaps.
You do notice there are a few street signs. You can give me. How are you going to approach? You're going to walk out and kind of look around in this this thoroughfare is kind of definitely like a wide street along what you would presume to be a walled area of the city.
Yeah.
You would assume that it'd be walled in, and as you kind of glance, it seems to be the case. You would assume that you're kind of in a bit.
Yeah, I'll walk in a little ways, look around, see if there's anything distinctive, like a unique statue or any kind of particular etchings on like a wall or a particular painting, engraving, mural that might be distinctive of this area.
Sure. And anything anybody else is doing?
How much do we stand out?
You don't.
Okay. As I am looking around, I am looking to see if there's any marks that other thieves may have, other fences may have.
You can see if you can find any familiarity with anyone who
see if there's any
thieves
can't
markings.
Yeah.
Okay. And then is anything Bedouin's doing?
Yeah, I want to see if I can identify a policeman.
All right. I would like you all then to give me separate investigation checks.
Corsic rolled a 15.
Okay.
I also rolled a 15.
Okay.
I rolled a 4.
Okay. Corsic, you do what you're as you're kind of looking around, you see that as you kind of glance back, you can see that the entryway is definitely marked as a North Gate. I'm getting my cardinal directions mixed up. North Gate, loading, unloading. So it's definitely marked and fairly.
Is it in a language that I recognize?
It does seem to be in that common-esque script that seems a bit off, but it only takes a few moments to kind of parse it together.
Okay.
You also see a few. None of the storefronts or any of the markings are obvious, but there is kind of like a kiosk or like a signage. As you get beyond the main street, there's almost like a square where some of these different businesses are. And these businesses are mostly like packing and things. A lot of them are closed, and not a lot of people are stopping, but there's a few restaurants and things of that nature that are here, and a few other businesses that just seem to be closed for the day. But you see this kiosk does seem to give you like a general map layout of the section of the city, and it's kind of like what you would find in our current modern cities. So you can actually kind of parse like a "you are here" sort of thing,
Right?
And you're able to kind of start figuring that out. And it's hard to kind of it's not every business is listed clearly.
Sure. Is there?
But there's districts.
Yeah. Is there anything that be parsed out as like the manufacturing district?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll keep note of that and
Okay.
see how these two are getting on.
All right. And then Bedouin, you're trying to find some authority figure of some kind.
I want to be basically. I want to see what the cop cars, what color the cops are wearing.
Sure.
You know.
As you're looking around, the thing that you notice, and you notice this at the same time as something else is occurring, but you notice that there are several individuals that are wearing. They have what appears to be a uniform that looks like a symbol of crossed blades. They look like curved blades of some kind, and they seem to be of like illuminated color. Like some of them are lit in a gold flame. Some of them are lit in like a different colored dripping thing. So there's some sort of symbology to them. They look like an authority figure. Most of these individuals you see are Genasi, the half elemental people that have tied to the Jinn, other sort of planes of existence. So earth, fire, air, water, that sort of thing. They generally generate that sort of element around them to some extent. You probably have never seen one, but it's possible.
Not a single time.
So you're like, what the heck is these? They look weird. You're pretty weird, inside, but these people are flagrantly just broadcasting the fact they're weirdos. The weird, monstrous weirdos.
I mean, you got a guy who walks around with fire in his head, a guy who drips with water, and I just walk around with like dull smoke coming out of my mouth and like darkness around me and stuff like that. So
speaking of darkness, you've noticed your companion has been back but has been quiet. You've noticed him in the corner of your eye ever since you started walking.
Into the city or walking period?
Walking period. A few moments after you're walking, you started thinking you were noticing him out of the corner of your eye. and then he's been more prevalent now, and you can kind of see him off, kind of looking where you're looking and kind of gawking, and you see him kind of. You can give me a perception check.
18.
18. You see that he seems to be kind of staring whenever he's kind of like creeping and looking into like dark spots. Like if he there's a shadowy alley or a corner or even like something casting a shade because of like illuminations flickering. He seems to be kind of looking at some of those and like towards them. And you're just catching it barely out of the corner of your eye. He's never in your front of your vision right now, but you're noticing him there.
But he's quiet.
He's quiet. He hasn't said anything. You also notice as you're looking through the sortie figures, a few of them that you catch glance at. There's a few that are human. That are wearing uniforms, and you think you catch a glimpse of one that looks like a dwarf having a chat with one of the like a water genasi, but you catch a glimpse of a couple of them, and they're moving up on your friend Selwyn, and they're like, "Hey, dwarf, you!" And it's a particular fire genasi and another air genasi with him.
Is there a place where I can stand near him, but I don't look like I'm with him?
Certainly. Give me a stealth or deception, however you want to play it. You want to look, or you want to casually be standing in the crowd? Stealth is fine. Either one's fine.
Yeah. I basically like.
It's more stealth.
Like Assassin's Creed, I want to sit on a bench with other people on it near him.
Stealth.
So like I can hear what's happening and I can protect him if I need to, but I don't necessarily want to be tied to him.
Sure, I got it. Give me a stealth check.
Are you sure it's not a deception check?
Yeah, I think so. In this case, you don't know enough about the people.
Double dog, dare you?
Oh, yeah.
Cock. Stealth. So that would be a 6.
Okay. Yeah, you feel like you're doing great.
There's two people sitting on a bench talking to each other. You plop down right
Right
in the middle of them.
Hey, you're not that gate. Do you have a pass for that gate? What are you doing in there? They kind of strut up to you.
A pass for what?
We saw you coming out of the northern gate.
Okay.
That's for storage and egress, and do you have a pass?
Yes.
Oh, okay then.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah.
Well, let's see it.
All right. I'm gonna rummage in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look concerned. Like, oh no, I've lost my pass.
Mm-hmm. Deception check, please.
All right.
Dice.
Uh-oh.
It's not a 4.
That's good.
That's a total of 11.
Okay. They're like, well, why? What were you doing in there? That says the other genasi.
We just came in through here. I forgot my keys.
You. Oh crap! Give me a persuasion check.
That's better. That's not good, but it's better. That's a 12.
Okay. Like, what are you talking about? And the other one is so the fire genasi is kind of standing there. You said it was an air genasi with him, didn't I? Probably.
You said it was fire genasi.
Fire, and there's also another genasi, air genasi.
I don't think you mentioned what the second one
There's
was.
a second one there. They look at each other, and they look concerned. They're like, "Did you come in alone?" And they're kind of looking around. And like one of them's lingering on. You see one of them looking at Bedouin and like kind of shifty eyes. Because Bedouin was clearly looking at you and staring at this altercation, clearly interested. And as soon as they look at him, he looks away just like he just did.
No, I came in with that guy.
Bedouin. And the one fire genasi nods over, and then the air genasi walks over to Bedouin. It's like, "You."
Oh, hi. How are you doing?
What are you doing here?
I'm sitting.
Did you come in with this fellow?
Do they have? Are they looking at me still?
The fire genasi is still standing with there, and he's got his hands on like the hilt of his blade, kind of casually, but he seemed twitching a little bit. He's definitely prepared.
I did. Yeah.
Right. Where are you from?
I'm from the north.
Right. The tracks.
You betcha.
That's an odd accent you have.
It's a northern accent.
What town in the north are you from?
I don't remember.
Is that what you tell him?
No. What? We never actually came up with the town or 10 towns. Is that the freaking map's gone? What?
There's no map here.
Yeah, what's it called?
Yeah, you were from 10 towns. You were from one of the towns in 10 towns.
Sure. Do I get to make one up?
No, there's actual towns.
Okay.
You can make one up.
I suppose I can. Where am I from? In the north. Oh, I'm from a small village called. Oh shit! I'm from a small village called Mankato.
I mean, if we're trying to stay accurate to the realms, there are actually all the 10 towns are accounted for. I can
Doesn't
go
matter.
get it.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, this guy's never heard of it anyway, so what the hell does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter at
yeah,
all.
Mankato.
Mankato. Never heard of that. That's, I would presume you're far north or from the coast.
Oh, I'm far north.
So you tracked across the desert.
Yeah, it sucked.
Give me a persuasion check.
Sure, it's not a deception check.
No, I mean, you're not really deceiving him.
It did suck.
It did suck.
16.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, charisma.
By this point, Corsic, notice this.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
The one Genasi that's talking to you, Someone, he's kind of looking sternly at you. It's like, what's your business in our city then? Coming from the north.
Was he able to hear our conversation?
Yeah.
He didn't say the north. I said the north.
Yeah, but you're a loud
You came
fuck.
in through the north gate. He said he just
Yeah.
came in. Forgot his keys.
Yeah. We asked him what the. Oh,
What are you
the
fucking
north
talking
gate.
about? You're not in the conversation. You gonna
Well, I
chime
know.
in?
Well,
Do you walk over there? You
No,
interrupt this guy?
I was just confused. I thought you were using my conversation to interrogate my friend here.
I can interrogate my friends, my subjects any way I want.
Clearly.
It's called leading the witness. I'm trying to fucking get him to admit to something.
Yeah.
Trying to incriminate him.
Okay.
Let me level with you. We met up with some ladies at the other end of this gate. I think at the other end of this gate.
You think?
I do. Perhaps we drank a little too much. And I woke up in a minecart with my friend draped over me. I'm not exactly sure where we are. And I have a pounding headache.
First of all, give me a deception check.
Can I aid by just having my face in my palm?
No, I don't think you're overhearing.
Hey, there's
this
that 4
conversation.
again.
God damn it.
It's an 8.
Why? Why in Karmashamis's name would you be in meeting women in the North Gate? That is the most absurd story that I've ever heard.
Well, I don't know if I met them at the North Gate. I woke up at the North Gate.
I think you need to come with us.
I'm gonna walk over.
The other one too? And he shouts back. And you're the one's like, oh, definitely. They're shady.
I'm gonna walk over. Mm-hmm. What seems to be the problem here?
Cops love that, by the way. Their favorite thing.
I'm a paladin. I'm used to being in the authority position.
They're just about ready to arrest some guys, and some schmuck comes and goes, hey, what are you guys doing?
I'm used to being the one asking that.
How's it going over here? You guys got it?
So they both glare at you. And they go, what's with the helm?
I'm not so good with the languages around here, and the helm lets me understand them.
That's suspicious. Do you know these two?
We travel together, yeah, for a bit at this point. Did they do something wrong?
So the fire genasi kind of glares at you, and the other one is kind of he's motioning for you to get up. He's like, get up and move to your friend.
I stand up.
Okay. The fire genasi glares at you, and he's like, so you all came in from the north then? Through the north gate.
We came in through that door, yes.
And where did you come from?
Well, we were in the desert for a while. And beyond that, lots of sand.
See,
We came in.
Like I said-
we were getting transported alongside
we're not sure.
this guy called the Gnome. Yeah, I didn't figure, but he gave us something to transport. He got stuck out there and wanted us to come in, see if we could get something to fix his vehicle. I don't know what you call these little buggy things that are going around in the streets. These wagons.
That doesn't explain where you came from. Where are you from, son?
Waterdeep.
What? You're from the coast then?
Yes, we are from a coast.
Clawmark then. You're saying you came from Clawmark.
That name doesn't ring a bell.
Paladins. Become a bard, goddammit.
So why do you need this helm?
I don't speak a lot of
Why
the
don't you
languages around
speak
here.
the languages?
I'm just not familiar. I guess I didn't learn them when I was growing up. But we're communicating easily enough, right?
Hey, who's they're paying attention to him right now?
The other one's kind of saying the air genasi who grabbed Bedouin is now changing attention to the kind of both of you guys, but the fire one who was previously accosted.
Do
you
I
is
have the
basically-
package or do you have the package?
I have the package.
package? Bedouin.
Yes.
Someone seems like he's gonna say something to you, but then you kind of see like a shadowy face inside where your side. He's like, the three of you could probably kill these two fools, and there's so many people around. You could probably stuck in an alley. Down in that dark alley over there, be fine. Probably do it. I'm just glad to be, able to stretch my legs.
I kind of like.
Are there other dwarves around?
You do see you could see a dwarf in the distance.
Are there enough dwarves around where dwarves are not super standing out?
No. You're using a lot of. There are dwarves around. There is at least one dwarf that you can see at a glance moving through the crowd.
Okay.
You can't see a lot because
not
there's
a
a lot
ton
of
of
people.
dwarves.
There's a lot of
Okay.
people, and
It's
dwarves
true.
are short.
They're short.
So, I am going to bolt
In which direction?
away.
Okay. You have the door you came in. You have the main thoroughfare that's going, you're assuming, east and west. And then if you were to head south, that goes into a courtyard.
Wherever
and
the
then,
crowd is the thickest.
all right. So you head into. Actually, you're going to probably head down one of the thoroughfares. So you dodge west, and you start running into the crowd. You see one of these vehicles going by, and you use that to block it. I'm assuming you disengage just in case that they don't get to grab you, and then you just bolt in that direction.
Correct.
Okay. And your shadow's like, well, he should have stabbed him first, but that's pretty smart.
What are the cops doing?
So the one air genasi on you is like, hey, what? And he kind of freaks, and he kind of looks at the fire genasi, and he's like, I've got these two. And then the air genasi kind of like moves through you almost with like this grace, and it almost seems to be flying after Selwyn with a significant amount of speed.
How wide are these thoroughfares?
Very wide.
Is there a dark alley, like a deep dark alley within, like, say, 30 feet of me?
Since you got pulled up from your bench, no.
But I can, like, take a 5-foot step and...
Not quite, no. you would say that to actually get to the Out Valleys, you're at least 60 feet away from like a building edge that you can see.
Jesus shit.
Yeah. So yeah, you won't be. You're contemplating a mystical step away, leaving Corsic by himself.
He's tough.
Sounds like these fellas need to move 5 feet in a random direction.
Jeez.
I would like to know what you're doing. You have the Fire Genasi is like, I think the two of you need to come with me.
Where?
We're just got a few questions to ask you. And you see him kind of motion, and you see other shapes moving from the crowd towards you.
Yeah.
Several other clearly Genasi, and you see one of the dwarfs coming through, and he's also wearing similar regalia.
Balefully watching Selwyn disappear into the distance. Yeah, that seems fair.
Check us out on Facebook at the Amorous Armadillo. Let us know what you think. If you like our videos, share them. That's how we're going to get better.